Hey, David Sparkwich here with myhebrewmentor.com. I hope you're well. This evening, we're going to be discussing the 16 drills to jumpstart your Hebrew learning. This is something that's close to my heart. I had to create a system years ago of assisting students in accelerating their biblical Hebrew education because I found that a very large percentage of Hebrew students, while having a love for the language, they were extremely frustrated why they didn't seem to be progressing after spending many hours a week studying, doing their homework assignments, and it was rather lackluster in terms of the fruit they actually got. So tonight we're going to be covering snippets of the first 9 drills. The first 9 drills of this system that I personally created pertain to increasing your ability to actually read the text, not necessarily comprehend the text. Whereas the following drills after that, drills 10 to 16, have been designed to assist you in actually comprehending what it is that you're reading. And so let's jump into it. Okay, drill number 1 is called the consonant and vowel sprint. The consonant and vowel sprint. This particular drill assumes some things. It assumes that the student has already taken the time to learn their alphabet. That would be the alphabet, the ancient Hebrew alphabet known as the alphabet, which consists of 22 different consonants. And this drill also assumes that the student has taken the time to learn their vowels. Now, while that may seem like a daunting task for someone that is new to biblical Hebrew, I've found that just going old school and simply purchasing a $10 set of cards on Amazon. These are flashcards, which are designed to help you learn the alphabet at an accelerated pace. If you'll spend just 5 to 10 minutes a day, it will not be more than a couple weeks. Most people can pick up all the consonants. It may take a little bit longer than that to acquire a pretty good understanding or being able to remember the vowel pointings, but that would be a great place to start. And then from that point forward, this would be a drill that I would encourage all newbie Hebrew students to do frequently. Again, it's not important that we spend an hour a day studying Hebrew. I remember my classes in college used to be an hour and a half, which honestly, after the first 45 minutes, our brain was like toast. So we weren't really getting a whole lot out of the class after that. But I was devoting at least an hour a day every morning to studying Hebrew, and it was rather challenging and a bit frustrating. And so these drills are designed as a way of enjoying the study of Hebrew and also significantly accelerating the time it takes to get a fairly strong grasp on the language. So let me explain the consonant and vowel sprint. So this is a snippet of scripture taken from Genesis 12, verse 1. Again, I've tried to make this very simplified. These sprints normally would be done with an entire pasuk. That would be a verse. Some would say pasuk. Those are the Ashkenazi Jews. Sephardic would say pasuk. Each one is perfectly fine. A pasuk or a pasuk is simply a sentence or a verse. So this is just a small part of a verse. And I've done that just to keep this exercise fairly brief and just give you a little bit of a taste for each of the 9 drills that we're going to cover this evening. And so the consonant and vowel sprint goes like this. We're going to take the time to rhythmically remember the consonants we've memorized, and with a certain type of a rhyme. I don't know if I'd call it music. It's more like chanting. Much like the Torah is chanted today and has been for thousands of years, we're going to chant our way through the letters by naming each consonant and then listing the sound, or naming, pronouncing the sound that each consonant makes. And so let me show you how this works. So the first consonant would be the Vav, and I'm just going to have my cursor over the top here. Actually, let me grab my annotation tools here. This will probably make it a bit easier for everybody. All right, I'm going to just do a little circle here. All right, so Vav says va, Yod says ya, Aleph says nothing. It's one of the silent letters. Mem says ma, Resh says ra, Yod says ya, Hey says ha, Vav says v, Hey says ha, Aleph says nothing. Lamed says la, Aleph says nothing, Vet says v, Resh says ra, And so feet says ma. All right, so we've done that short phrase in Hebrew. And I would try doing that several times until you get really comfortable with the flow of it. You want to ultimately get to the point where you're not pausing. And so it's a rhythmic flow. Now, when you first start and you're new, yeah, you're going to be pausing because you're like, what is that letter? I forgot. But in the course of time, it's going to help you. And it's proven that putting words to music causes you to be able to remember those words about, I don't know what the percentage is. It's high. It may be 60% more or 80% better memory with music. You have to understand that the Orthodox Jews that are studying in the yeshiva academies, this is exactly what they do. They may not use the same tune that I'm using, but they use a tune. They'll break up in pairs, these yeshiva bokers, and they will study Talmud. Also, they study Torah, and they would go back and forth by chanting a pasuk of the Torah back and forth until they've got it and they've mastered it, and they'd move on to the next one. I did this years ago with my children around the kitchen table as we were memorizing the 119th Psalm. Pretty daunting for most Americans, but we were able to, in a fairly short period of time, remember just about all of that Psalm, and we did it by attaching a musical melody to the verses as we'd make our way through. All right, let's go ahead and clear the drawing here. Now we are going to try the vowel sprint. Same sort of thing, it's just we're going to give the name of the vowel and then the sound that the vowel makes. I will say this for Shewa, because Shewa is either silent or vocal. We're not dealing with Hebrew grammar at this point. We are just going to call all of the Shewas vocal just for the simplicity's sake and just to understand that the Shewa can in fact make a sound, and the sound it makes as it's being read, I've heard some people pronounce it as ah. It's really more of an eh sound, as in egg, and so that's what we're going to use here. You'll notice there are slight variations to some of the vowels depending on what part of the Jewish world you come from, and it's okay. It's not necessarily a right or a wrong. There are just variations, just like the English language is pronounced quite differently depending on whether you're from Maine or you're from the Georgia area, Louisiana coastline, or elsewhere, right? Okay, let's go ahead. Patach says ah, Cholim says oh, Segol says eh, Shva says eh, Chametz says ah, Segol says eh, Patach says ah, Shva says eh, Chametz says ah. All right, there you have it. So I try that. So take a pasuk from the Hebrew Bible, from the Tanakh, and give it a shot. Do a consonant drill, do a vowel drill. Go ahead and clear the drawing and move on to our next drill. And the next drill is called It's Time for a Stress Test. Like saying, this is not the kind of test that you take, stress test in terms of your heart. If you're having heart problems and go to the doctor, they stick you on the treadmill and they attach all these wires up to you and they measure your heart rate and they monitor it. This is a stress test that has to do with, do you recognize where to put the appropriate stress on a word, or do you not recognize that? So we're going to go ahead and pull up our snippet of verse from Genesis chapter 12 and let us take a stress test. So I will show you exactly how this works. I'm going to draw a circle to show you what I mean. Every word in the Hebrew language in the text, Masoretic text of the Tanakh, the Old Testament, Christians would say, Jews would say the Hebrew Bible, or they would say Tanakh. Every word has consonants, vowels, but it has something else called the diacritical marker. I put a circle on the diacritical marker, and these were created by the Masoretic scribes, say 5th to the 10th century, 6th to the 10th century, that time frame. Every word has one. And one of the most basic levels of meaning, there's 3 or 4 different applications to the diacritical markings. Really, we're just interested in one of them, and that is they are stress markers. First and foremost, they tell us where to put the stress on a syllable. And so this word would be pronounced. And by the way, once you've done the consonant and vowel sprint and get to a certain point where you're really good at it, you're ready to read. You're ready to begin basic reading. You can take a phrase, part of a verse like this, and begin to sound out the letters. And so that's where stress comes into place, is you want to be pronouncing a Hebrew word correctly. You don't want to get you want to get the right stress on the correct syllable and not the wrong stress on the syllable, right? Okay, so vayomer is how you would pronounce this word. The stress is placed right here in the second syllable. We have the diacritical marker right beneath the yod. So it's not vayomer, it's vayomer. Vayomer Adonai. Stress is on the last syllable here, Adonai. This, of course, is the Tetragrammaton, the divine name used over 6,000 times. It is the Lord's personal and covenantal name, meaning it has components of the words he was, he is, and he will be all kind of put together, and it makes one word. So it's known as, represents God being the all-existent, ever-existent one, eternally existent one. But Jews would say Hashem or Adonai, and so we're going to respect that and do the same thing here. So we say Adonai. And then we have El as monosyllabic, one syllable, so you don't have nothing to decide on when there's one syllable. You just pronounce the one syllable. And then you've got Avram is the pronoun, is the proper noun, and is the name of our patriarch Abraham, whose name was Avram. In Hebrew, you'd say Avram. Avram. So it's not Avram. The stress is on what they'd say the tonic syllable gets the stress. Avram, last syllable, and you get a stress marker right there. And so let's go ahead and put this together. Vayomer Adonai El Avram. That's how you would say it. And that's pretty much it for the stress test. So again, encourage you to go through the entire verse and identify. You'll want to circle the, I would print out, basically take a snippet, Windows snippet shot of a verse from the Hebrew Bible out of a free Bible program, such as blueletterbible.org. It's blueletterbible.org. And you can use the Windows snippet tool. And if you don't know what that is, just Google it, and it takes about 2 seconds to do. And then you can paste it into a program, word processing program, like a Microsoft Word, or even a free Google Doc is fine. And it will paste it right there. And then you could just print it out on your handy printer if you have one at home, and then you've got your student worksheet right there. And so you're going to want to circle each of the diacritical markers, their stress markers, and then after they're circled, you know exactly where to put the stress, and then you can begin to practice sounding out some of these basic words and part of the Hebrew verse. And so that is pretty much all I have to share on it's time for a stress test. This next drill is drill number 3 of the 9 that we're covering. There are totally 16 drills in all. This is how to splice a syllable. How to splice a syllable. Very important part of reading is being able to correctly determine where syllables begin, where they end, and not to mix them up. And we'll see as I give an example here on how to splice a syllable. Let me get a different type of a tool here. All right, so syllables have rules. I certainly don't have the time right now. I'm not going to take the time to describe or explain all of the rules, but quite simply, there are open syllables in Hebrew, and there are closed syllables. An open syllable, every Hebrew syllable has to have at least one consonant and one vowel, and it usually begins with a consonant in almost all cases. Begins with a consonant, has a vowel. If there's an additional consonant at the end, that's called the closed syllable. It's kind of like a sandwich, 2 slices of bread. The consonants represent the slices of the bread. You've got a slice of bread, then you get something in the middle, the vowel, and then another slice of bread. And so that is a closed syllable. An open syllable would be just one consonant and one vowel. So it's quite simple, really. So I'm going to show you how this works on this little phrase that we've been working on here. Vayomer, if you say vayomer, that has 3 syllables. Can you hear them? Va, yo, mer. Now, I will say this, I'm going to teach you a little different way of breaking things into syllables than you'll probably learn elsewhere. I've nicknamed this Sparky's simplified approach because there are aspects of syllabification that are fairly complex and for the most part confuse just about every new Hebrew student is completely in a tiz wondering what happened to them. They don't understand. And so I've created a way that maybe it's not 100% technically correct, but it's correct insofar as it will get you reading very quickly and it won't confuse you with the minutia of what doesn't matter anyway. So what really matters is that you get up and running quickly, reading and understanding what you're reading and not be bogged down in the technicalities of some of these things. And so I always try to simplify. All right, let's draw some lines here. Va, okay, Vayomer. Adonai, we're not going to syllabify the divine name. There's enough issues with just the vowels and it gets very technical. They've done something different with the divine name, the Masoretes, to protect it, safeguard it from being profaned, but it really violates the rules of Hebrew grammar and vowelization. So really we're just looking at 2 words to practice on here. We're in L, there's nothing to break up there. It's 1 syllable, monosyllabic. And so here you can see you have an open syllable, a vav and a patak, va, and then you have a closed syllable. It begins with the yod. It has a vowel in the middle. It's a cholam, light, cholam kal, I would say, and then an aleph. So va, yo, aleph is a silent letter. There's no vowel underneath it. So va, yo, mer. It's the last syllable there. Va, yo, mer. Open. And we've got closed and we've got closed. Va, yo, mer. And here at the end, we've got the word Avram, name of the patriarch. We've got a closed syllable of, and then Ram, another closed syllable. So it begins with a vowel as it begins with a consonant. There's a vowel in the middle, ends with a consonant. This one begins with the consonant, resh, it's kamates in the middle, ends with a mem sofit. So there you have it, and how to splice a syllable. This is rather important, so I encourage students to print out an entire pasuk at home in Hebrew and do their best to syllabify. I've got a whole bunch of exercises in the videos that are part of the Yerash digital subscription, the pasuk analysis section, which will take you through how to splice a syllable, and we'll show you exactly how it is done, how it is not done. And you can follow the videos and then try at home. This next one is drill number 4, the open or closed syllable drill. And I know I mentioned open and closed syllables. Last drill more had to do with actually dividing them correctly than actually labeling. But they do go hand in hand. So whether you want to do drill number 4 first and then do 3, or do 3 first and then do 4, they pretty much go hand in hand. They're both important, and they're sort of like the Siamese twins, kissing cousins. They go together. So this is the open or closed syllable drill. We've gone ahead and divided things up. We're going to go ahead and do that again. Va, yo, mer. Open, closed, closed. So why is it open? It's open because it begins with a consonant. There's a patak, a vowel that comes after it, and there's no other consonant. Now, technically, according to the technical aspects of Hebrew grammar, what you're going to find is that the Dagesh, some of the Dageshim, that's this little dot that's inside the belly of the yod. Many of the Dageshim are called strong Dagesh, and they represent a letter that's been gemination. So it simply means it doubles the letter, and so the correct spelling of this word technically is really vav, yod, aleph, mem, resh. So according to the technical rules of Hebrew grammar, you're technically supposed to say the first syllable is, the word is vav, yod, aleph, mem, resh. First syllable is vai, so that's vav, patach, yod, and then you have the second yod, the doubled yod that comes after that, and it's yod, cholam aleph, and then mem sigol resh, 3 syllables. So I understand that's technical. Will that really help you knowing that? Will it help you read? It'll actually confuse you. Students get really bogged down with the Dagesh and not understanding, is it a strong Dagesh for doubling? Is it a weak Dagesh? What's the difference? What are the rules? And there's enough rules that it keeps you stumbling, pausing, and afraid to even move ahead in your pronunciation. So that's why I came up with Sparky's simplified approach to syllables. And if you will practice the approach I am teaching you, you'll actually be up and running 10 times faster than if you tried traditional approaches, is what I have found to be the case. So Vayomer Adonai El Avram. We've got closed. So closed syllable begins with a consonant, has a vowel in the middle, ends with a consonant. This Shewa is actually silent for different reasons, and we will be getting into Shewa, but not here. So I understand that there is some interchange, interplay. If you're going to correctly know how to syllabify, you have to have some knowledge of Shewa. And Shewa is probably one of the harder things for people to acquire a solid understanding of, because there's enough rules that govern. Is the Shewa silent? Is it vocal? But we're getting ahead of ourselves here. For the time being, I would encourage the student to check their work against my work in the videos. And the videos will be starting in the Pasuk analysis section, the Torot section of the Yerush digital subscription. The videos will begin with Genesis chapter 12, verse 1, the same snippet we have here. And you can simply watch the video and try the homework on your own without looking, and then compare what you did in your homework with what you see I did in the video, and just make note of the areas where you got something wrong. And after watching it again, you'll see exactly what you got wrong as I explain many of these things. And so that's the open or closed syllable drill. Next drill would be drill number 5, which is where do I pause? Or we could say, where do I pause? This has to do with deciphering scribal diacritics. It sounds like really complicated. I try to make these sayings kind of catchy because I don't want this to be a really dry class. And there is a place for humor and levity, and you can still have fun studying the Word of God and not getting bored stiff, right? People who are bored, turn off the program and go to something more exciting, right? There we go. Where do I pause? This has to do with where we should pause in the reading of a verse. As in all languages, sentences are broken into smaller subsets, phrases, and first you have a paragraph broken down to smaller parts, which are sentences, paskim, and broken down into phrases. And so we have this in Hebrew as well. And let me grab my annotation tools here to demonstrate. Okay, so this is going to be a really short lesson because it's we just grabbed a little snippet, we grabbed a little phrase in Hebrew. Like if I had a whole pasuk to work with, I'd be able to show you 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different places to pause. So this exercise is just going to give you a little bit of a smattering. Like, how do you know if it's Vayomer Adonai El Avram, or is it Vayomer Adonai El Avram, Vayomer Adonai El Avram? You see, you can have different ways of saying it. How do you know what's the correct way? And it's particularly difficult and really challenging for new Hebrew students because half the time they don't even know what the words mean yet, and they're trying to, say it correctly. So is there a way that we can learn how to read it correctly, even if we don't know all the words and the meaning of the words and how the words interact? Yes, in the affirmative. So the Masoretic scribes have also blessed us with another function of the diacritical marker. So this diacritical marker has been affectionately called little zakef, zakef katan in Hebrew. And that is a light pause, which would be indicative of the comma, use of the comma in the English language. And so here we do have another light pause here, but honestly, we don't have to completely pause. How would I say this? The sages were linguistic scientists, and they took things to such an extreme degree, minutia, that things are broken down and many times into like segments of 2 words. But you don't hear people reading sentences and stopping with slight pauses. And so we're not going to take things to that level, but we are going to honor some of the more significant pauses. And the Zakef Katani is a more significant Pause. It is one of the higher levels of authority in the systematized structure of diacritical markings. And so this word would be, this phrase would simply be pronounced like this: Vayomer Adonai el Avram. Pause. And so we're honoring the pause here without running the sentence on into the next word that comes after it, whatever word that is. We don't have it on the board. And so that's pretty much how you do it. So I know that, maybe it didn't satisfy you that much. It's just one example, but we're going to get a lot of this in the videos. You're going to see it again and again and again. And the beauty of the system I've created, it's not like a typical year one Hebrew grammar book where you deal with adjectives, and then you deal with a chapter on nouns, and then you get into the verb binyamin, the verb stems. It's not like that. It's like we take a verse, it's holistic. And so we take a verse and we apply 3, 4, 5, 6 different drills to that one verse. We move on to another verse and maybe use a couple of the same drills, but let's add some new drills. And then in the course of time, as you're making your way through a perek, a Hebrew chapter, you're getting these drills again and again and again, and it's getting hammered down in your brain like, critical things you need to learn to read. Whereas in colleges, places of higher learning, these traditional approaches, unfortunately, they put a student in a place where they're not reading Hebrew for like months. They've done months of work. Well, how about learning how to read Hebrew? I teach my students, the students I meet with online for mentoring, I get them reading within one session, and sometimes 2. But they're reading the first verse on their own, by the way, after that short period of time. So that is exhilarating to them. They're like, this is unbelievable. I've had, paid all this money for these educational programs, and it took me months, and I wasn't even where I was with your approach in 1, 2, or 3 times. And so we want to major on the fundamentals. That's really the essence of the program that I teach, majoring on the fundamentals. It was Bruce Lee, the martial arts expert, that says, I'm not afraid of the opponents that has practiced like 1,000 moves once. They know 1,000 different karate moves, but they've only practiced each one time. He says, I fear the man who's practiced one move 1,000 times. Let that sink in. That's really what we're after. Drilling, like you're going to know these so well, you're going to know these drills so well, and they will form the foundation, the undergirding of the entire structure of your ability to read Hebrew and understand what you're reading. And so that's really the beauty of the program. That's what makes my program different from almost everything that I've seen out there. So it's very organic. All right, let's move on to the next drill. This would be drill number 6, decoding Dagesh. Is it a strong Dagesh or is it a weak? The Hebrew word for strong is chazak. Is it Dagesh chazak or is it kal? Is it weak? There are only 2 types of Dagesh. A strong Dagesh indicates gemination, doubling of the letter. So though you're only seeing one letter, if it has a strong Dagesh in the belly of that letter, there's really 2 there. You just don't see them. One is superimposed over the other one. And so it's very important that we get a handle on Dagesh. We understand it and we're not mystified it. We know the rules and we got it. We get it down. And so if you watch the videos, you'll find I go through the rules and you can learn the rules yourself and you won't have to be stumped by the Dagesh any longer. All right, so decoding Dagesh. So let's go take the time to identify Dagesh. So here again, I know that, because I've tried to make this video really short, abbreviated, and full of content, like if we took a whole pasuk, a verse, we'd have quite a few Dageshes in most verses, and I'd have examples of strong ones and weak ones, and really we just have one. So you want to look for the little dot that is not above things. It's in the belly of something, of some consonant. So it can be in the belly of a mem. There's none here, but I'm putting one just to show you what it would look like. And then let me see what else. Definitely vet and bet, I bet. And this letter has a Dagesh. It's pronounced ba, bet. And that would be a weak Dagesh in many cases. But we're not going to determine because I just made that up here just to show you what it looks like. So let us talk about the one Dagesh that is in this pasuk. It's in the word vayomer. Vayomer is the Hebrew word which means in English, and he said. And he said. And the technical spelling is Vav Yod Yod Aleph Mem Resh. There's gemination at work in this Yod because of the strong Dagesh. And this rule is really simple. If the strong Dagesh, or if a Dagesh is preceded, so what comes before it, look at the vowel that comes before it, if there is a vowel, and the letter that comes before it. If there's a vowel here, it's a strong Dagesh. So if a Dagesh is preceded by a vowel, any vowel, okay, that is a strong Dagesh. Now, not preceded by a Shewa. Shewa is not a vowel. It is known in Hebrew grammar as a non-vowel. It's preceded by a vowel. You can bank on it. It's really, there's a gemination at work. So 2 yods. And then once you have learned the rules of Dagesh, go through entire pasuk, circle every Dagesh, determine and make a note of, is it strong, is it weak, and why? What are the rules? Listing the rules for why you think it is that way. It's a great little assignment. Then you're going to know exactly what is there. When you look at a phrase like this, there won't be anything you don't understand. You'll know everything that's there. That's the goal, okay? So that's decoding Dagesh. Going to move on to our next drill. Drill number 7, differentiating the Shewa. So is the Shewa silent or is it vocal? And this is something that trips up most students. Differentiating the Shewa, is it silent or is it vocal? Let's take the time to identify the Shewa. Okay, we've got a Shewa there. Again, it's the divine name, so anything attached to the divine name is it's going to be subject to being misunderstood because it violates the rules of Hebrew grammar. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but we really only see 2 Shewas. Now, you may notice something up here that may look like a Shewa. That's a Zakev Katan, so it looks just like a Shewa, but the reason it's not a Shewa is because it comes on the top of a word, and you just need to remember Shewa only comes down beneath, so you'll only be looking beneath consonants for Shewa. Anything that looks like a Shewa above, it's not a vowel, it's a diacritical marker. It just happens to look like a Shewa, but it's not a Shewa. It's something different, right? All right, so let's apply some rules here. What are the rules of Shewa when a Shewa appears beneath the first letter, the first consonant of any word? It is always vocal. Here I know we would say Adonai, but if you were to pronounce the divine name, like some scholars would say Yahweh or Yahweh. And let me just say at the outset, I'm not afraid to pronounce the divine name. I'm not superstitious. I pronounce it with great respect. And in the presence of a Jewish audience, I would not pronounce this name out of just a respect for their religious tradition. And it is something that we need to be respectful, right, of one another's religious traditions, and not violate unnecessarily when we don't have to. But this one, because the Shewa, like I said, the vowels don't really jive with the divine name. It's an anomaly. It's something that is one of a kind. So because of that, I'm not going to spend any time trying to explain to you how the Shewa, is it silent, is it vocal, it doesn't really work the same. So we're just going to basically say, okay, I understand it, but we'll leave that on the back burner for now, and we'll address that in another lesson, which really leads us to the final one here. So is it silent, is it vocal, differentiating Shewa? So there's a little rule with the Shewa is preceded by a short vowel. And short or long vowels, you really have to look at a vowels list. Like if you're new to Hebrew and it's not super sensical, like there's some vowels you'd think that are short and they're long, and some that are long that you'd think they're short. So it's not as easy as you would like it to be. But along with the Urash Digital subscription, I have tools where I have vowel charts, and I also have student handouts that contain the vowel charts. But you'll want a vowel chart, a full vowel chart that contains the 17 different variations, which break them into different categories. So short, long, unchangeable long vowels, those sorts of things. That's what we want. But the rule states if a shva is preceded by a short vowel, patak is on the short vowel list, by the way, then it renders the shva to be silent. If there's a long vowel here, such as, let's say, a kamates, then it would be avaram. It would be pronounced. So you see, in some cases, shva can be pronounced in other places and it's something you just need to get used to while you learn to read, listening to other people who know how to read. It's not like it's always consistent the same way, the same time every way, but you need to develop an ear. So I would say, well, because this is silent, it's simply avram. You don't have to worry about the shva. But in cases where it is vocal, there can be some slight differences in the pronunciation, okay? So that wraps it up for differentiating shva. Let's go ahead and move on to our next exercise. Drill number 8, accelerated reading practice. So this is fun, and it's going to be real quick and easy because we're just dealing with a phrase. So accelerated, obviously, it means you're going to go faster and faster, and so start off really slow. Some newbie Hebrew students, and I don't say that disparagingly because I was new, and it's fine to be new. It's not fine to stay new. If you're new now and you can hardly read and you're passionate about Hebrew, you've got the tools, you're surrounded with help, get a mentor. There's no reason why you can't be up and running and gaining serious headway in 6 to 9 months. But for the new students, when I read more quickly, it's like, whoa, David, I couldn't even follow you. You were reading so fast. And I can understand that because I was in your shoes once. So I just tell them to take a chill pill, slow it down as slow as you need it. And we're just going to try this 3 different speeds: super slow, slow, and intermediate. And so this first word is pronounced vayomer. Okay, you've just done it, super slow. Divine name, you can say Adonai or Hashem. Adonai, Adonai, or Hashem. Next word, El. Last word, Avram. Again, we've done all of our drills, so we know the Dageshes, we know where there's doubling, we know the shvas, we know where which ones are silent or vocal by this time. We syllabified, we broke it into syllables, so we've done everything to this partial pasuk that could be done. We've done it. We've taken the car completely apart to the ground. We're going to build it back up now. So that's slow, super slow reading. This would be slow reading. Vayomer Adonai El Avram. Intermediate. Vayomer Adonai El Avram. Try that again. Vayomer Adonai El Avram. And the professional readers read it even faster than that. And I find it not to be super helpful because if someone's reading so fast, you can't even track with them. Is that really going to be helping you? It's going to frustrate you. And you'll probably try for a little bit. And guess what? Boop, tune them out, turn them off, move on to some other tool that is helpful for you. So that's why we don't include a super fast speed. And I'm an okay reader, but I don't read like at lightning speed either. And that's okay. I can still understand most of what I'm reading a lot of the time, and it's rewarding, it's fulfilling, it's fun because I'm called to study the Hebrew Bible, and many of you are as well, and that's why I am here to help you. Right, next drill. Right, last drill number 9, acquiring a Hebrew tutor. So there are some of you that have acquired the Urash Lite digital subscription. You have no tutor. Perhaps a tutor is not affordable for you. I totally get that, and I just wanted to put a little just to remind you or maybe bring to your awareness that my Hebrew program, I've priced it extremely affordably well so that even if you get like the Urash digital subscription, $25 a month, you get several $100s worth of access to unbelievably good resources that there's new material being added weekly that you will benefit from for years to come. And it also includes, lo and behold, a mentoring session. So you get to meet with me, I get to meet with you, 30 minutes a month, so just one time per month, which is amazing because, where can you get a Hebrew mentor or teacher or tutor that really knows what they're doing to personally spend one-on-one time with you and charge you like almost nothing? That's like, I haven't met anybody to do that. So it's really a great deal, but some people are just unaware of it. So the difference between Yarash digital subscription and Yarash Lite is just the mentoring component. Yarash has for $25 a month, has the once a month mentoring with me, and then you'll be surprised at what we will uncover and the things that I will be able to help you with during that monthly session. And then some benefit so much, they're like, that's it. I'm getting onto a regular, half an hour a week or an hour a week. And then you can look at, some of the more costly packages and get you the best deal, like, 25% off. How about that? That would be amazing. So anyway, acquire a Hebrew tutor. Is it important? I find that students that don't have one, they flounder. They seriously flounder, and most of them give up. They do. And so you can even try some online programs where you're watching videos, but without a live person to talk to, ask questions of. They can observe your reading skills, ask you questions, point out where you're making mistakes. Well, guess what? You can have a program you spend thousands of dollars for, but if it's not interactive with actual live input from someone on the other side that really knows what they're doing, you're in trouble. You're going to have some problems along the way, maybe serious problems, maybe more minor problems. I find that there's about 1% of students that can just do it on their own, and they're exceptional people, and they are out there. There's not a lot of them, but even them, without someone that is going to meet with them regularly, they will make mistakes, and they will not know they're making mistakes until years later through the slow and aggravating or grueling process of trial and error. They discover, I've done something wrong for 3 years, 6 years. I didn't even know, because there's so much to learning biblical Hebrew. So there's really no POSIC to apply drill number 9 to, but I'm just putting a plug in. If you haven't hired a tutor, I would commend myself to you, because it won't break the bank, and you can actually sample the tutoring with the Yarash Digital. Or if you don't want that, that's fine. You can do the $30 per session approach and book a time slot whenever you'd like to meet. That's fine with me. It doesn't have to be every week, and it could be more than once a week if you wanted to, and it's $30 for 30 minutes, essentially. If you wanted to do $50 for 60 minutes, we could do that. That's far better. You can accomplish a lot more in 60 minutes than 30, but 30 is way better than none, right? So I'm going to put the wraps on it. That is drill number 1 through 9. Thank you for your patience. I hope this has been helpful and interesting for you. It's kind of like the internal components of my system, and I'm giving away secrets here, but privileged, guarded, safeguarded information, and it's taken me a long time to develop a Hebrew program, many years. And so hopefully this is helpful for you, and I look forward to meeting with you again and covering drill number 10 through 16, which has more to do with increasing Hebrew reading comprehension. This had to do with Hebrew reading, not necessarily the comprehension. And so the other drills have to do with increasing your comprehension. So, lahitra out. We will see you later. Shalom, shalom. Bye now.